Welcome to the deep dive. So, today we're tackling this question. Seems simple enough, but it really gets under the skin of a literary puzzle. Is there actually a story in Waiting for Godot?
Right. And if you know the play, you might immediately think, well, yes and no, maybe.
Exactly. That's the tension, the interesting bit we want to unpack.
It seems straightforward, but then you think about what a story even is, and, well, it all gets a bit blurry.
Absolutely. For me, Waiting for Godot, it was a big one back in post-grad. Not just reading it, It was the debates, the endless discussions it kicked off.
It really invites that, doesn't it? Hard to pin down.
Totally.
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing. Let's set the scene a bit. The play is Waiting for Godot. The writer, Samuel Beckett, Irish writer, published in 1953.
And that Irish point you mentioned, it's sometimes like a test question.
Yeah, it pops up state-level exams, net,
Yeah.
set, that sort of thing. Just a little factoid to keep handy.
Okay. That whole post-war context, Ireland, you can kind of feel some of that unease, that searching, maybe in the play's background.
Right, so the basic setup is stark. You've got two men, Vladimir and Estragon. Our source often just calls them two old friends or two men.
Okay.
They're on a country road,
Yeah.
just a bare tree there. And they're doing one main thing, waiting. Waiting for this person named Godot. And the source really flags this. The act of waiting isn't just like stage dressing. It's kind of the main event.
The title gives it away, right? Waiting for Godot. Before anything happens, waiting. It's going to be key, all that frustration.
And it's important to get that this play is often called absurd or modern.
Yeah.
What that means really is Beckett is sort of chucking out the old rule book.
No neat beginning, middle, end.
Exactly. Forget clear heroes, villains. The source even mentions how it mixes comedy and tragedy, tragicomedy, comic tragedy. It's hard to label.
Makes you wonder if it's trying to be funny or sad or just something else.
Which pushes you straight into philosophy, right? Big questions. What's it mean to be human? Purpose, existence.
Yeah, it definitely grapples with those.
But, like the source says, debating the genre. We could be here all day.
True.
There is another point in the source, though, worth just mentioning. No women characters at all.
Right. None.
And the question posed is, why not women? Is waiting only for men? It's a huge question. Complex. Something to think about, maybe.
Definitely food for thought.
Yeah.
Whose perspective gets centered there.
But for today, we're sticking to the story, or lack of it, and this core theme of, well, waiting.
Okay, so Vladimir and Estragon's situation, focusing on that.
Okay, so yeah, let's dig into the waiting itself. Vladimir and Estragon, these two old friends, they are just relentlessly waiting for Godot.
And you feel their exhaustion, don't you?
Yeah.
Mentally, physically, they're restless.
Bored stiff,
Yeah.
probably. But they stay. They don't leave that spot by the tree. Why? Because they have this hope, I guess. They believe Godot will show up.
That persistence, when everything's so uncertain, it's very human, isn't it? Holding on to hope, even if you don't really know what you're hoping for.
Have you ever felt like that? Waiting for something, you don't even know what.
Oh, sure. I think we all have. And you see how they cope with the boredom, the monotony.
Yeah, they distract themselves.
Yeah.
Like anyone stuck waiting, right?
Yeah.
In a queue at the airport, you just look for something to do.
Anything.
For them, it's chatting. About random stuff,
Yeah.
old memories, Estragon's boots, just whatever comes to mind.
Those little details become like anchors.
Yeah.
Trying to connect, make sense of things when nothing makes sense. It's almost like a survival tactic.
Totally. They make silly jokes, argue about pointless things. They just talk.
Communication as a remedy for boredom, like the source says.
Because being alone with your thoughts when you're waiting,
Mm.
time just crawls. But talking, even arguing, it fills the space, creates a shared moment.
Yeah, even if it feels pointless. And it's repetitive, too, right? They echo each other, have the same arguments again and again, trapped in a
It
loop.
definitely feels like that sometimes, doesn't it?
Uh-huh.
Those conversations you've had a million times.
Uh-huh. Going nowhere but familiar.
And this is key. The source really points out that a lot of their chat is, well, useless, not fruitful. It doesn't go anywhere.
They're talking to talk, to avoid the silence, the emptiness.
It becomes a pastime and game, just filling the void.
It shows how much we need engagement, doesn't it? Even if it leads nowhere tangible. Just connecting, talking. It becomes the point when there's no other point.
Have you ever done that? Just talk to fill the silence.
All the time. And the source slips in a little reminder here, too, like, to really get this, you need to read the play.
Right. No shortcuts. Summaries, AI,
Yeah.
they don't replace actually engaging with the text.
Crucial point. You miss the rhythm, the tone, the whole atmosphere Beckett creates. That's where the power is.
Okay, so under all this waiting, there's this huge uncertainty. They're not even sure Godot will come.
No guarantee.
And Vladimir, he can't even really remember what Godot looks like. Which makes you wonder, is Godot even real? What is he?
That ambiguity is everything, isn't it? Is he a person? A symbol? Just made up? Them not being able to picture him just makes it all feel more absurd.
And what are they really waiting for then? What vague hopes are we holding on to?
Exactly. They hope Godot will help them somehow. But help them how? It's never said.
Just this fuzzy idea that things will be better, problem solved, if Godot just shows up.
But they don't even know if they're in the right place or if he's ever come into this spot.
Their hope is so persistent, but so empty of details. Hope without content, almost. Kind of poignant.
Yeah.
Tragic, maybe.
Waiting for a solution they can't even define. Does that ring any bells for, us? The vague things we long for?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's this constant, uncertain waiting, the lack of solid facts, no resolution, that really gives the play its absurd feeling. It just doesn't follow the usual rules of drama.
Exactly. No exposition, rising action, climax, neat ending. Just this cycle. Waiting, punctuated by weird encounters.
Which brings us right to Pozzo and Lucky. They just burst in. Completely different energy. Disturbing, really.
Yeah, Pozzo's the boss, the master. And Lucky, he treats him like property.
Right.
A slave.
The power difference is so visible, so uncomfortable. Lucky's got his head down, can't speak freely, carrying all Pozzo's stuff. It's oppression made visible.
Have you ever seen that kind of power imbalance play out so starkly?
It's hard not to notice sometimes, isn't it? Tick, silent, head bowed. It's such a strong image of being crushed.
Yeah.
And the source offers this interesting modern take. Pozzo as like a ruthless CEO. And Lucky is the ultimate yes man.
Okay. Stripped of his own will.
Yeah, connecting it to modern capitalism, neo-colonialism, post-capitalism.
Yeah.
All these structures of power and dependency we see today.
That's a really fascinating way to look at it. Shows how the play still hits a nerve decades later. These anxieties about hierarchies, they haven't gone away.
And Vladimir and Estragon, even in their own mess, they feel uneasy about Pozzo. They don't like his cruelty.
But they feel sorry for Lucky.
Yeah, a bit of sympathy there. It's
Yeah.
complicated. They see Pozzo's abuse and it bothers them. Show some basic empathy, maybe.
Even when things are bleak.
Yeah. Then comes that really strange bit where Pozzo tells Lucky to think and then speak.
Oh, yeah. The speech.
And what comes out is just chaos.
Yeah.
A jumble of big words, the source calls it. God, life, suffering. But it's all fragmented. It makes no sense.
It's like Beckett is dumping philosophical ideas out, but almost parodying them. Like intellectual talk that sounds important but means nothing.
Have you ever listened to someone talk like that? Eloquent, but empty.
Definitely. And the pointlessness is driven home because nobody understands it, not even Pozzo, who asked for it.
And Pozzo just tells him to stop, cuts him off.
Which, as the source notes, really highlights that master-slave thing again. In a modern capital structure, even speaking can be controlled, silenced.
It's chilling, isn't it? That arbitrary control, how easily voices get shut down.
Yeah.
Anyway, Pozzo and Lucky leave as suddenly as they came.
And Vladimir and Estragon are alone again, still waiting.
Their big dramatic interruption. Didn't change anything fundamental.
It's just a weird, brief interlude, highlighted power and dependence, sure, but left them right back where they started, still waiting.
Ever have an encounter like that? Felt huge at the time, but ultimately, nothing changed.
Too many times. So next, the boy arrives.
Yes. A message, finally. Something about Godot.
What's the news?
The boy says Godot can't come today. VUT, he promises. Definitely coming tomorrow.
Tomorrow, so hope gets a little boost.
Exactly. A reason to keep waiting, even if it feels thin by now.
That promise of tomorrow, it keeps them there.
And the source connects that word tomorrow to some interesting literary stuff. Macbeth, obviously.
Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. Yeah, that slow, meaningless crawl of time.
Right. And maybe, the source suggests, echoes of Yeats, Chinua Achebe. Themes of life being fleeting, chaos, things falling apart.
Wow. So just that one word opens up all these connections.
It shows the depth, doesn't it? How this simple-seeming play connects to big ideas.
The Macbeth link really nails that feeling of futility, the endless drag of time they're experiencing.
But what's really absurd, and kind of bleakly funny, is the repetition. The exact same thing happens the next day.
Another boy. Or the same one.
Maybe the same one, with the same message. Nope, not today. but definitely tomorrow.
Oh, wow. So they're just stuck in this loop, no progress at all.
Time passes, but nothing changes. Feels like a metaphor sometimes, right? The ruts we get stuck in.
Totally. And then Pozzo and Lucky come back.
They do, second day, but they're different. Worse off.
How so?
Pozzo. He's blind now. And Lucky, who was already silent, now he's mute.
Wow.
Completely unable to speak.
Whoa. So deterioration, things getting worse.
Yeah, the source says they're in worse shape. It's pretty stark. Time passing, decay, maybe inevitable decline.
That second encounter sounds even bleaker. Pozzo, once so dominant, now helpless. Lucky, completely silenced.
And this time Pozzo falls down, begs for help. Pathetic, really.
And Lucky can't do anything. Mute.
Right. So another quick, grim appearance, then they're gone again, just reinforcing that cycle, maybe the meaninglessness of it all.
Transient encounters. And ultimately, Vladimir and Estragon are still isolated. Even the others who show up are subject to the same decay. Makes you think about connection, support, in a world that maybe doesn't care.
And Vladimir and Estragon, understandably, they're getting frustrated, all this disappointment.
I bet.
They talk about leaving, even mention, dying, ending it.
But they don't.
Nope. They stay right there, rooted to the spot, can't seem to act, to break free.
That inaction, even when they're despairing, that's such a core part of the play's picture of being human, isn't it? Knowing you should act, wanting to, but just being stuck.
Felt that. That paralysis.
Way too often. And the source links this feeling, being trapped, to the postmodern condition. Unfulfilled hopes. Godot is that hope, maybe. Or God, or just meaning.
The play suggests we're all trapped, maybe, in a cruel world. And that cruelty could be capitalism, fake relationships, corruption, anything that makes us feel powerless.
Yeah, it taps into that disillusionment, feeling hemmed in by society or just existence. And because Godot is so vague, you can read all sorts of modern anxieties into it.
So that brings us to the ending, famously unresolved.
Right. What happens?
Nothing, really. Vladimir and Estragon are still there, by the tree, still waiting.
Godot never comes.
Never comes. Nothing is resolved. Their hope for some kind of fix, some solution from Godot. Nope. Unfulfilled.
That lack of closure is so striking, isn't it? It defies what we expect from a story, leaves you feeling uneasy, questions unanswered.
They just end up still there, still wondering why Godot didn't show. And the source is, the title, it's perfect. Waiting for Godot. That is the play, the waiting, the inaction.
The title becomes like a comment on being human, maybe. Always waiting, often for something unclear, something that might never arrive. Or might not fix things, even if it does. What title would we give our lives,
Makes you think.
Yeah.
So finally, the source sums up the big philosophical questions the play leaves us with. Is waiting their destiny? Is it all they can do? Why wait? And is it? Who is Godot?
And they're meant to be unanswered, right? To make us think.
Deliberately open-ended, provokes argument, discussion, still does after all this time. The source highlights three big things to chew on. Waiting, life itself, and God. Or Godot, or just hope.
Yeah, they force us to confront our own ideas about meaning, purpose, how we deal with uncertainty.
So as we wrap up this deep dive on waiting for Godot, here's something to maybe mull over. What are you waiting for in your own life? Maybe without even quite realizing it. And what does that waiting say about your actions, your hopes? Is it just passive acceptance? Or could there be something more to it, a purpose you haven't seen yet?
Deep questions.
Beckett keeps asking them. Definitely worth exploring more, reading the play if you haven't, or reading it again. There's always more to find in it.